Meeting on March the 7th. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence thereafter. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Apparently this morning we have a special presentation. Mike, would you come over, please?
Do both microphones work?
Yes.
Yep. We'll all stand. Good morning, Mike Krim, Community Corrections Director. I wanted to thank the Board of Commissioners for allowing me to appear before you and recognize several members of my team. Service Excellence Award is one of the coins that we hand out regularly at our staff meetings. And every member of my team at some point has gotten one. Recently, I was going over my records and everything, and it became clear that two members of my team need to be recognized for outstanding work over time and for a special incident where they helped save a human life. I'm lucky to supervise the best team in the state of Oregon. I know I've told the board that, and I believe that. Our team is the best, I believe that, and we're lucky to have them serving Coos County. I would like Chris Webley and Mackenzie Davis to come up here with me, please. Come on, what are we doing? Thank you. There's that court this morning. We're lucky to have him. Thanks, guys. P.O. Webley and P.O. Davis, two members of my team. They're also members of the Coos County Emergency Response Team. They've responded to many instances with our law enforcement partners and have dealt with threats of violence and threats of weapons and things of that nature. They both have effective communication skills like all my team, but an incident recently was brought to my attention from my law enforcement partners and from my team. On the 11th of January, P.O. Webley and Davis were contacted by the team and regarding an incident of a person making threats with a firearm. It was a very dangerous situation, and both responded and dealt with it. Both communicated with the family. They developed a rapport with the family. This individual had been on supervision before, but was not currently. Over a long period of negotiations, both dealing with the situation with the family and with the individual, where the outcome was very in question of what was going to happen. P.O. Webley engaged with the individual. The individual would not deal with anybody except for the members of my team because he knew them. We worked with the individual, and over time, it was successfully resolved with the individual eventually giving up his firearm and surrendering and being placed in custody by P.O. Webley and our law enforcement partners. This is an example of the teamwork we have in Coos County and an example of two members of my team and the outstanding work that they do. We're very fortunate to have these two serving Coos County, and I want to recognize P.O. Webley and P.O. Davis today for their outstanding work, and especially for that incident where they have saved a human life by assisting our law enforcement partners. Right. So please join me in recognizing them. We have an award for you guys. Yeah.
For what it's worth, last time I talked, it's still doing well. Wife, really good. Mental health issues and stuff, but still doing much better. So.
I better do one at a time or I'll drop it.
Don't do that.
Mike,
Yes.
can you go around that way so we
Oh,
see you?
yes.
We need pictures. Mackenzie and y'all.
Yeah, grab the other one.
The slain people.
Look this way.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, over here.
Let's roll.
Heather,
I saw it actually. I saw it in real time.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
Just wait for a second.
So just to reiterate, this an example of the teamwork we have in Coos County working together, and it's important that my members, we always have members on the response team, and Chris and Mackenzie volunteered for that. They do a fantastic job, and this is just the ongoing work that not only them, but this team at Coos County Community Corrections does, working together with our law enforcement partners in the community to help the community safe. So, just so grateful, and thanks to the board for allowing us to recognize it.
Thank you, Jim.
All right.
All righty. 2B, request approval of MOU with North Bend City Housing Authority, Health and Wellness. David's here. Morning, David.
Morning,
David. You threatened to bring this to us.
I did. And Mike Rowley's out sick, so I'm subbing a little bit as well for him today.
I'm sorry for that, but good to see you.
Thank you. So yes, this is a request for an approval for a memorandum of understanding with the North Bend City Housing Authority to help support the Banger School project. We would be committing up to $2.5 million out of our housing funds that we receive for this purpose to help support that operations, which in turn would provide us 20 units of housing for some of the folks that we serve to have access to that housing. It is not 100% guaranteed that this project will occur. The funding cycle that starts, they're going to submit their application at the end of March. Then they will hear then if they are eligible for the rest of the funds related to that project.
Okay,
I move to approve and sign the MOU with North Bend City Housing Authority.
and I second that motion.
We have this before us.
Yeah,
Preliminary discussion.
that's correct. Yes.
Any discussion from the audience? No? Anybody?
Oh, well, I'd like to point out that none of these funds are from local property tax dollars, which fund so much of the county's operations. The source is what we commonly refer to as Obamacare, I believe.
It's I think this funding comes from I think a lot of federal funds, ARPA, some of the things that are happened in some state funds primarily.
Thank you.
Any last call for any comments from anybody? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And I should have announced before we started that our first town hall will be in Lakeside at the Lakeshore Lodge at 6 p.m. on the 16th, which is a Thursday. So first town hall, Lakeshore Lodge on the 16th at 6 p.m. Right? Say what?
Are there gonna be cookies?
If you bring them,
If I bring them?
I know they're good.
If you come early, it's the, kind of the meeting room that faces the lake. You're gonna walk through the whole dining room and get in the back there. And if you go early, you can get something to eat there. They'll be ready for us. So this thing doesn't pick me up very well. The 16th, Lakeshore Lodge, at 6 p.m., first town hall. And we'll just sit around and ask whatever you want. Well, I don't care. Whatever's on your mind. And we'll have, of course, North End Coos Bay for one, and Pokemon Point for one, and Towers for one, and Bandon for one. But so far, we got this one first scheduled here. It's sometimes a struggle to get everybody together.
May I make a comment on that, Bob?
Sure.
Just to clarify, when I was campaigning, one of the issues that I campaigned on was shifting the Board of Commissioner meetings to an evening hour when more people would be able to attend. It doesn't appear that the time of day is much of an impediment today. Thank you all for being here, but this is Chair Main's move toward accommodating that principle. And the evening BOC meeting format had been tried in the past with pretty dismal results in terms of attendance. My opinion personally is that we're in a different season now than we were then, and that attendance would be much improved from those experiences. But this is a bridge, a transitional attempt to see what that attendance will look like. And so we hope to see a lot of people come out and express what is on their hearts.
Pam?
I'm wondering what advertising you're accessing.
Sure.
Can I help in any way?
You can put it out.
Put
on
it anywhere you want.
Facebook page, wherever you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Anything.
Yeah.
We're gonna let the city council know, and the mayor and the city manager of Lakeside know, and fire department and all those folks.
We'll be putting it out on all the Telegram and Facebook channels that are available to us. So yes.
Oddly enough, the last two times we had this, which has been a while, we got more people from Lakeside and Towers than anywhere else. We only got 2 to 3 people from, let's say, Coos Bay North End, besides some staff that went. So hopefully it'll be well attended. And maybe, well, we'll have a vigorous discussion about anything you want to talk about. Anything. I'll tell you what it is. As long as we don't get into legal issues, that sort of stuff. But and we do have some current pending lawsuits going on in the county. We have multiple ones coming up in the jail as well as others. So generally we can't talk about those kind of things as they're going forward, of course. Anything else? Even Mr. Gurney might be able to talk about that. All righty. Moving on to 2C, request approval of contract amendment number 2 with Columbia Care and Bay Apartments. And David, you're up again.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is a request to approve a renewal. This is a long-term contract that we have with Columbia Care for 10 units, plus the support services that go with it. That's Bay Apartments. Bay Apartments is located in the downtown Coos Bay area, just close to Blossom Gulch School. So this is a request for a total of, for the year amount would be $118,800 for the year, support that housing and the supports that go with that housing.
Move to approve and sign contract amendment 2 with Columbia Care for Bay Apartments.
Second.
Discussion. No? No? Anybody out there want to talk about this? Have a question about it? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All righty, fair.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Request approval of resolution
Thank you,
making
David.
additional appropriations to purchase bleachers for the fair. Who is representing the fair?
I'll take that one. We'll
Okay,
let's
John.
hear from the fair.
No, they're working today.
Well, good. Good. Yeah, thanks for sending your husband out there doing that, all kinds of weather. I think many of you know that we've made a concerted effort the last several years to upgrade the fairgrounds and the quality of the programs at the fair. And I think our attendance the last few years has demonstrated that we're on the right track. One of the big projects was to reconfigure the rodeo arena so that you had a better view of what was going on. In times past, the bucking shoots were at one end of the arena. You know, sometimes the events last as long as 5 seconds. So about the only people that got to see them were the people that were sitting in the grandstands at that end of the arena. And thanks to a lot of donated labor and help, we've been able to move that straight across from the grandstand. So every seat in the grandstand is a good seat. In the process of doing that, we had to tear down some old bleachers, which were probably unsafe anyway. And so we're replacing those bleachers, and part of the funding that we need to accept, it was a donation of $15,000 from the Coquille tribe. So to accept that donation, I move we approve and sign resolution 2302043B.
A second,
A second?
discussion? Yeah, you want to leave? Okay, Pam. I was asking John Roddick
Oh, sorry.
first, but you're okay.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Pam Lewis, Coquille. Gary and Haga, who's on the board, and Keith Lewis, who has worked with Gary, so they work well together, are leveling ground today so that the ground will be prepared for the bleachers to come in. They have done an immense amount of work, and thank you for your project heading on that, John. John's the liaison for the fair, and he's done a good job of spearheading, getting that going, and then leaving when there was volunteer work to be done. But he ate donuts, so I was proud of him for that.
That's the main thing I did.
That's
Think you're doing it.
Anyway,
Thank you for bringing.
these guys are really working hard. It's been wonderful. We've had some comments from other people that watch fairgrounds that say, gee, this looks really great. And it does make a difference to bring people in. And that's part of what we do is promote 4-H and promote the rodeo so we can
Thank you.
tourism kind of thing. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
So who are these people again?
Gary Haga and Keith Lewis.
Do you know one of them?
I do.
Good.
I said that a couple of years ago.
Still doing good.
Yes, sir. Come on up. Yeah, we need your name and
Sorry.
general location.
Dan Tolman,
Hi, Dan.
live here in Coquille.
Cool.
I like the appearance of the rodeo now. I think, where are you putting the new bleachers?
The new bleachers will go in that space immediately in front of the grandstands.
To the left?
No,
Oh,
it'll be
okay.
right in
Center.
front.
Okay.
So you'll be
Where those
have the same
temporary
views the
stands-
grandstand people have, but you'll be a little closer to the action. Some of you that sit down at the lower levels will be looking through the railings on the corral
Right.
that goes around there. So thank you for that. I'll pass that on to the fair board.
All right.
They're the ones that are really doing this, and Gary and Keith are the ones that are spearheading this particular project. And it's a huge transformation that they've made. We have new bucking chutes that are awaiting installation. We have new poles to put our lighting on. We have new LED lighting to vastly improve the visibility there in the evenings. Just a lot of work being done, and that's just the rodeo arena. And we've already had people contacting us asking if they could use the fairgrounds and the arena at non-fair times, which is one of the goals of the fair board, and they're accomplishing that.
In my opinion, that's a good idea. You know, we've got it, why can't we use it? And also, we raised 3 sons and they've had 4-H projects. And our oldest son and granddaughters are very active in the fair and rodeo.
Cool, thank
But along that line, the response to the fair has been so great that all ages and all levels that even though we have a new, relatively new, 3/4 acre animal barn that the 4-H'ers use, we've pretty much outgrown that, and we're anticipating having to add to that, and that's one of the next things. So if you have some money sticking around loose in your wallet, think of the fair board. They can use it. They got great projects lined up.
That would be nice.
Yeah, the fair is self-supporting. None of the tax dollars that come to the county from our citizens pay into that are used for the fair.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Anybody else want to talk about the fair bleachers? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All righty, moving on, 2E, request approval of resolution making additional appropriations to purchase picnic tables at the fair. John, I assume.
Yes, we have again a donation of $9,800 that was made to purchase new picnic tables for the fairgrounds. The ones we have there are really old and marred and very hard to keep clean. So we need to approve using that money to purchase these picnic table frames. I move then that we approve and sign resolution 2302044B.
Second.
Okay, discussion, John is not. Anybody out there want to talk about this one? Picnic table? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. 2F, request approval of lease renewals in Mesquite Park, and that's by Chair Stein.
Hi, Craig.
Craig.
Hi,
Morning,
Frank Storm, County Parks. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
A month ago, we brought this to the board about renewing our lease with Weyerhaeuser for Nasika Campground. And so I'm back this month to see if you guys have researched and talked about it and see if you're willing to sign the new lease for our.
Okay.
I move to sign the new 2-year lease agreement for Nasika Park.
I second that.
Okay, so for everybody that may not know, where is Mesquite?
Nasika is on the east fork of the Millicoma River, on your way up to Gold and Silver Falls, the state park up there. It's about 4 miles this side of Gold and Silver Falls.
You go to Allegheny first and then go on.
Yeah, you go across the bridge, you go up to Allegheny, and then take the left where the road forks and go up towards Gold and Silver Falls, the east fork, and then
Yeah, I don't know about now, but it used to be a great place for steelhead fishing.
it is a wonderful place for steelhead fishing. It's one of the few places that isn't privately owned along the river where people can gain access to fish there. And the host has done a lot of work. I even had a comment from Mike Gray, the fish and wildlife biologist, how well the bank is cleared off so people can have access to the river. And he's even hung putting garbage bags on the trees so they could take their fishing line or whatever stuff and they could put it on. It's above the high water mark, of course, but and he was really receptive and thought that was a great idea for them to have somewhere to put their fishing line, or whatever, so they're not just leaving it on the bank. It is one of the good spots. Plus, we have our day use area right next to it too. That we're in there.
Do you happen to know how much the lease amount is? Because it says NA on the back.
There's no charge.
No money at all.
Okay.
Yeah, no monetary value. Yeah.
Yeah, we just maintain the garbage and maintain the closure.
Yes.
And Dan up there does a great job of keeping that place looking good.
Yes, he is for a volunteer, he does all that on his own.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do that to be the host there, but he wants to do it because he likes to do it and he likes the park and likes to make it look nice.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe there's public water there, right? There's Santa cans.
There's 2 vault toilets there. Yeah. We do have non-potable water to the host and electricity there. But other than that, it's dry camping.
Okay, so if you go, take your own water and drinks or whatever.
Yep, generator, water, if you want power.
Ricky, anybody else in the audience want to comment on this one? I don't see anybody. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
2G, request approval of job descriptions for survey tech 1, tech 2, and survey field foreman, Mike Gato, county surveyor, which
Caroline's gonna present. I'm just
is,
gonna be here in case you have any questions.
you're,
Sit there and
you're
look pretty.
welcome because we almost never see you. You're out in the
Good
field
to
most
see
of the time. What? You're out in the field mostly.
I thought that's
So
why you
this is our
hired me.
county surveyor, to everybody elect. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Caroline Morgan, HR Department. So I have been conducting an audit this year to make sure all our job descriptions for all current and open positions are up to date. And to that end, I noticed that the Survey Tech 1 and 2 position needed some updating. And so I worked with the Survey Department to update both of those 2 job descriptions. And then to that end, we have also created a new position called Survey Field Foreman, and put that under the same pay grade as the Forest Field Foreman position. So request board approval of all 3 job descriptions.
I move we approve job descriptions for Survey Tech 1, Survey Tech 2, and Survey Field Foreman position.
Second.
So can you highlight some of the major changes?
Yes, one of the job descriptions was actually in a very old format. So what I'm going to do is make sure all job descriptions are in the same format. And then there's certain language that we want to make sure is consistent in all job descriptions that addresses certain requirements that we ask for. We look at skill set, we look at experience required for the positions to make sure that they line up with pay equity. And then we look at working conditions, make sure those are all consistent. And what we really want to do is really just make sure that our job descriptions are consistent, especially for pay equity purposes. And that they currently reflect all the duties that these individuals who are in these positions perform. Because sometimes job duties change over a course of time.
So for people who don't know, can you kind of do the 90,000 foot level on this pay equity law that we have to abide by now?
Well, so pay equity has actually been around for a long time, but our feet were really put to the fire about 4 years ago, where now we have to make sure that we have a defensible claim in case we ever receive any kind of a lawsuit requiring that positions of comparable character within the county, not within the county government positions, not outside of the county, are paid commensurate with each other.
So as an example, a position X in the courthouse, which is in the general fund, supported by tax dollars and whatever else we can find, like timber sale, has to be compared directly to a similar position, let's say in the county health and wellness department, supported by state and federal funds, which they seem to have lots of funds. But those 2 positions, if they're similar, have to be paid similar, even though they're paid out of different funds from different funding sources. Lots of fun.
Yes.
Did I kind of hit the highlight?
Yes, very, very good, Bob. It does keep the HR office very busy.
Very good. Okay, anybody want to comment about this?
So the HR business or office, however, now won't be busy about the business of replacing Jared and Kyle, right? They're solid still.
Well, Jared's gone,
Oh.
so we have a new member. I was just going to say a little bit about this survey field foreman. When I took the job in 2011, I had 7 employees. Now I have 3. So there wasn't a need for the field foreman. Carlos basically stayed in the office. Bill Hales did all of his calculations and ran the crews. And so they had a lot of techs, but nobody really to supervise in the field. And now it's just Kyle and his assistant. He's been here for 5 years. I used to have to go out on every job and prep it for them and explain to them what they needed to do. And now
Kyle takes care of all that, and so I wanted to make sure that he was justly rewarded for his hard work and you know, he's really gone the extra mile in trying to learn something that he knew nothing about when we hired him. And so we've created this position that better suits what he does.
Back when we had 7, there was an office manager, and then there was 6 people in the field.
Yeah, and they have 2 complete crews.
Now you have an office manager and
Two people in the field, and if one of them's sick, they don't go in the field.
That's pretty typical of most county departments.
Yeah.
Anybody want to comment, please? Anybody? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
They do.
Thanks, Caroline.
2H, request approval of revised single job description, driving essential classification. What is that?
All right, so in December, the Board of Commissioners approved the updated and revised vehicle policy. As you may remember, our vehicle policy had not been updated since the 90s, and it got a complete overhaul. As part of that, we really took the time to identify which positions really require driving as an essential function. And I have gone out to all department heads and elected officials to identify every single position under their control and to determine whether driving is actually an essential function. And this agenda item just requests that I be allowed to make those changes to all job descriptions just for the driving essential selection box.
I move to approve the HR department to amend job descriptions as necessary to reflect correctly whether positions are determined whether or not to be driving essential.
And I second that motion.
Any discussion on that? Anybody out there want to talk about this? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 2I, request approval of order authorizing
Thank you, Caroline.
roadmaster to enforce certain portion of county code council. Where's the roadmaster? Who was here? Oh, there you are.
Hi, Paul.
You were hiding back there. So, tell us about this.
This is just kind of adding on to what's already been done with other departments related to the hearings officer process and allowing department heads to be able to enforce certain parts of the code. In this case, only the code that's associated with the roads, county roads. And that would include county maintained roads as well as local access roads, also known as public dedicated roads. So they're public roads in the county that we don't maintain, but yet we do have jurisdiction over them.
Okay.
Paul, could you give us a illustration of what some of these violations might be?
Yeah, it could be, in some cases, it could be camping in the right of way. Another example would be constructing things in the right of way without a permit. Another one would be, we've had people that do excavation work or filling, putting fill material in right of ways without authorization from the road department. And in some cases, you know, in every case, we try to get a hold of people and have a verbal conversation first. But in some cases, we have no way to contact them verbally. So we'll send out letters. And this gives us another tool in the toolbox to ensure compliance. Right now, at least at the road department directly, we don't have a lot. So this would allow us a better tool to ensure that people will comply with the code related to roads.
So I've had a couple of contacts with folks, somewhat animated, and that they put in a new fence. Of course, in these 2 cases, they didn't go out and get a survey as to where their property lines were.
Yep.
And so we, the roadmaster or somebody from the county road department went out. Eventually, the county surveyor went out. There's been a bit of controversy about that, especially I received a phone call from a rancher who said, "What blank are you doing?" And I said, "Well, okay, when you go move your fence, or reconstruct your fence, make sure it's on the property.
Yeah.
Well, what about all the area between the ownership line and the county roadway? If it's clear full of blackberries and all that, I said, well, the county road department is supposed to keep that under control. Of which I got some more interesting comments.
Sure.
So there is just putting that out there for folks, especially if they watch the public access TV, is that before you go rebuild your fence or construct your fence along the county roadway, make sure where your property corners are, and your property lines.
Yeah, the county for a long, long time has, I guess, in a way turned a blind eye to fencing along roadways. And it's put us in a position now where we're really hamstrung a lot of the time with being able to do the work we need to do. Just as an example, we've run some calculations and it takes 4 to 5 times as long to brush cut the side of a road when there's fencing in the way. And that's a cost to everybody.
You get the fencing wrapped up in the mower.
Yeah, and then of course that's not accounting for that. So then it's not uncommon to have a brush cutter head catch a fence or a post, and if it catches wire and wraps it up in the cutter head, there's times where it's 3, 4, 6 hours to actually get it cut out of the head to get back to work. So there's a pretty high cost with having those types of things in our right of ways. So we haven't been allowing any new fencing in the right of ways. We're not allowing reconstructing fencing in the right of ways. I have been working with landowners, on a case by case basis as they come up. If they want, we have had Mike's crew, the surveyor crew, go out and identify the edge of the right of way if there's a question. In most cases, what we do is typically just look at the plat map. Right of way says it's X feet wide. We just tell them you can either measure from the center line of the roadway, half of that distance, so it's a 50-foot right of way, to 25 feet from center line, and to find your edge, build it there. Or if they want to be super specific, we're fine with having the surveyor go out and identify the exact line. Either way.
Well, I found out that sometimes though, the county roadway is always not in the center line.
Well, if there's never been a survey done of the actual road, then the road is where it is. So the right of way is where the road was physically built.
Okay.
So I mean that's just the law. I mean, if county council was here, he could clarify why that is. But that's my understanding of the law in Oregon. It's where it was built. So yeah, you'll see places where our roads don't necessarily follow exactly where the right of way is even mapped. But unless there was an actual survey done when it was constructed, then it is what it is. I would encourage any people listening or citizens that are here to look at the road department webpage. We've kind of put a statement on there about kind of the change in the guard. When I took over in August, and some of the changes we're trying to make. And since we're here talking about it, if you guys don't mind, I'll soapbox here for a couple minutes. In that, you'll find that we're going to change a number of things. We've already made some changes at the road department, but one of them is enforcing our right of ways better and not allowing people to put these things in there that make it harder for us to get the work done and cost more money and time. Another one is just how we do our basic maintenance. We're kind of shifting back towards basic road maintenance, and by that I mean tree falling, tree removal in right of ways. We've got thousands and thousands of trees out there that are either leaners or hazard trees that need to be removed. We are almost done with a major tree removal project on Daniels Creek Road. It was our number one overtime emergency call out road for trees down. So we're doing that. We're going to be doing more ditch cleaning, more culvert cleaning, small culvert replacements to improve drainage on our roads, because drainage is our number one problem in this county when it comes to our roads. So I'd encourage people to look at our road department webpage for that information, as well as we do plan on starting a Facebook page sometime in the near future. We do not plan on allowing comments on that Facebook page, but it'll be for information purposes only, just to share, what we're up to and what we're working on and what projects might be coming up in certain areas.
I move we approve and sign order number 23-02016L.
Second.
Okay, discussion for anybody? Anyone? Yes, Rob.
I was reading through this. Oh, Rob from Not Bandit. I was reading through this, and there were several articles of the code that it covered. You just passed a new law where you are authorizing certain people, such as the forest manager, to kick people off the land for 2 years. Does this cover that, what you're authorizing right now?
This is different.
This is different?
Yes.
Then I have no questions.
I just like to second what Paul said about the importance of this work. It's number one, safety. A line of sight is important. If the road's overgrown with brush, you can go into an unsafe condition. Number two, efficiency. Yes, we don't get to all of the roads. We don't brush them as often as we like. The biggest part of the reason for that is that it takes so long to brush them when you're fighting fences. Third, the condition of the road. And I think this is probably the most important of the three. If you don't have good drainage, good ditches, and good culverts, your roads aren't going to hold up. If the roads are covered with brush, you're not going to be able to clean your ditches or keep your culverts clean. If you have fences, you can't do the brushing. So this is a really important, you're getting right back to the basics of maintaining our roads. And I know there's going to be some pushback to that. At some point in time, I think we're going to have to set a date certain when the fences do have to be moved out of the roadway. I already heard instances where Paul said, you know, if you're building a new fence, you got to move it over. Good, I'll just repair the old fence. We can't live with that. This has got to get done by Sunday.
Yes, ma'am. And then the guy in the back, you're next.
Susan Kirkendall from Coos Bay, and this is just more of a question for you. I used to work in a highway department, and we utilized the program Esri. And in the Esri program, I was able to make the maps that went onto our website so that people could actually almost interact. I know at the county level, they did interact with that website, with that map where they could click on their property, their plat map, and it could show the documents, or at least part of the documents, that could assist property owners or those that were interested in why something was occurring. And they could see the document that gave the county or the highway district the legal right to that. I don't know if this county is using a program that would give them that, but I would really strongly encourage this county to think about opting into the Esri program for that, as well as for the election department, because that program is so multi-user friendly to accommodate the highway district and that plat map. Go into Kootenai County, Idaho, and look at their plat map if you're ever interested in it, because it is interactive and it will provide you as the working group as well as the public the information that may stop some of the anger issues and because of the misunderstanding. So just more of a comment than anything.
We used to have, I don't know if we still do. I think in the assessor's office, we have an Esri program.
My understanding, because I did go in and talk to the previous clerk, Debbie Heller, and asked about that because I am so enthusiastic about this program. That what my understanding was is that this county was using the Esri program as an opt-in to the state. So the county wasn't owning the information. If the county itself will opt into the Esri program, you own the information. You are not leasing the information. I'm trying to think of a better term for it, but it becomes the county's. So if anything ever, because I know there are other programs out there that you use their services, but if they ever decide they don't like you, they own the information and they take it with them when they withdraw from whatever agreement you have. If you opt into the Esri program, and there may be other ones out there now that are as good or even better, but Esri seems to be the top dog in the field. Every time you go on Bing, every time you go onto a mapping program, it says powered by Esri. I'm a real advocate because I think it would help the highway department Because that's what I did. I was the person in the office that took the phone calls from all the angry citizens. What the are you doing? And I could easily get them. They could come in and sit with me, and they could look at the documents, because some of these documents go back 100 years or more. And they don't know this. Even when they buy their property, they don't even know the documents that are sitting there. They give that where their property line ends, the county line starts for the easements and the right of ways. And they don't understand that. They think that it goes out to the pavement. I don't know how many times I've heard that as their, well, wait a minute, that's mine. I've been mowing it, or I've been planting it, or whatever. It was a great tool. My heart was out to you guys, because I was at the office and I went out and rode with them in the trucks, and it was a great job. I envy you. I'd go back right now and eat that. It was just a comment, but I would really, I know that it's a cost, and it would have to be something that, we utilized in the next budget, but if this county owned it, they could use it for all sorts of things, the assessors, the road crew, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Morning.
Tom Brown, Red Duck Road. I'm just curious if you have any plans of doing any repairs on any roads. I mean, our roads are bad.
On any roads, yes.
On Red Duck. We haven't had any repair jobs out there in a long time, and they're really, really bad.
Yeah, we're actually have as far as brush cutting, we have a brush cutter that's on 7 Devils right now, and he's working his way north. We have another one that we have a guy that runs it usually on overtime on Fridays or Saturdays occasionally. And he's over in the Coos Bay area, kind of working south. So I would expect within the next month to month and a half, we should be in that area. Doing brush cutting. Yeah. The asphalt, we're actually going to do something a little bit different than what's been done in the recent past. So we pay a company to come out and actually assess the pavement conditions of our roads, just for the asphalt roads first. And we get a report from them, and it actually provides the current condition. It estimates what condition they'll be over the next 20-year life cycle, and also provides recommendation as to what we should do to repair, whether it's maybe fixing certain small areas where you have potholes or alligator asphalt, or in some cases they might say full reconstruction. So it's just too far along. So we're going to start actually using that report to manage a little bit more about where we pave and how we repair pavement. In the past, the number one tool that's been used is just a simple 1.5-inch overlay over things. And we're going to get away from that and start focusing just on the actual problem areas instead of covering all the asphalt. So like I said before, you're going to see quite a few changes that we're trying to make. It's going to take some time. Yeah, it's going to take some time.
Coming up,
yeah.
So they're all dipped, so the water just sits there and freezes. And it's just, we got a lot of it going on out there.
And once you get, I don't know how much time you guys are spending with, but once you get an asphalt surface road where the asphalt's broken and water penetrates into the subgrade, then it causes a subgrade failure, and now you've got a much bigger repair. So we have a lot of areas around the county like that. So we're going to be focusing on fixing those smaller areas that are like that, rather than just covering the whole of the asphalt.
I was wondering if I maintain my own brushing in front of my place, my property, my neighbor's property, and my other neighbor's property, and the road across the street, I maintain that. And
could you come over and do my house too?
I sure can. I'm sorry.
You got a few more miles away you could do.
But I was wondering, even though I do all this, they still come and spray that stuff. And that's the main reason why I do it, because we just got our fish friendly tie gates in, for the creek there. And
we have a no spray program. We announce it by usually right after the first of the year. You have to sign up by the middle of February. It's every year. We got to do it every year. Because property owners change all the time. And so we tried in the past where we'd let people sign up once, and then it was just an agreement in place until whenever. It doesn't work well because ownership changes. Yeah, just call us. We've already ended it for this year. But if you're usually where it gets mowed and it's being managed pretty well,
I maintain
bulk spray.
It's always maintained.
Yeah, our herbicide spray guys usually don't hit those spots.
I know that's what they were.
Yeah, I will say though, the one issue we have in those areas is outside of, especially an asphalt surface road, you need to have a gravel shoulder. It's not sod, it's not grass. I mean, the shoulder is actually part of the travel way. It's an area that's designed to actually recover your vehicle if you start to leave the main travel surface. And if it's grass and plants rather than rock, it's a lot easier to lose control of it. So,
Yeah, we have no shoulders on
yeah,
our red dye.
yeah, we've got plenty.
But our road is sunk down and what little shoulder we have is way above, so water stands there. Is there, can I go and take my tractor and shave that off?
After I'm done here, I'd be glad to get your contact info.
I have a question germane to this conversation, Paul, and that is if Tom's missed his mid-February cutoff date for the signing up for the no spray, what would happen if he just took those no spray signs that we see different people use and put those out there when the spray crew is out there, even though he's not on the list, but they see the signs? What would their response be in that situation?
The only signs that our spray crew recommend or recognizes are our signs. So if people put up a homemade sign, we're not going to recognize it because that's part of our spray program and it's part of actually county code is to get signs from us, and we give them out every year. They're made of a special type of material. They have your permit number on them and the date, the year that you got them, so we know. That way when our guys are out there driving the roads using herbicides, they actually know who has a valid permit and who doesn't for the current year, because sometimes people will sign up one year and then they might change their mind and say, no, I don't want it anymore. But if they leave their signs up, which a lot of people do, most don't take them down, but if they leave them up and we just didn't spray anywhere with their signs, well, then they call us and say, hey, wait a minute, I didn't sign up this year. I wanted you to spray. So we only use our signs. If somebody, if you wanted to put up homemade signs, I would recommend against that. We'd rather you did not. Don't normally allow it. And that's just so our spray program can be more consistent. And it makes it easier for our guys. We have a newer employee in that position now. The person that was in there for almost 30 years. She retired. She trained our new guy. So he does know a lot of the places where people have had no spray agreements for a long time. But, that changes all the time. So he doesn't know our road system as well as she did. So it's really important that people sign up for that program and get the appropriate signage so we can skip the correct places.
Thank you.
Mr. Thompson, you want to talk?
Yes, I do.
He has that look about him, doesn't he?
I know he was doing kind of this.
Good morning, Bill Johnson, Coos Bay. I just want to ask the legal question here. Now, Cedar Point Road was vacated, right? Just recently.
Correct.
Okay, where's it start at? On the other side of Roseburg or off the main highway? Off the mill? On the back side of the mill? Or does it start from the highway?
Well, it's vacated as you get off of 42 towards the mill, right? Not exactly how far, but
It's as soon as you leave ODOT's right of way. So ODOT's right of way extends down South Cedar Point a little ways. And that was from November 29th.
Yeah. And the landowners beyond that point all have easements through that.
Okay, since this was a past county road until you vacated it. Okay, now, if any county work is done on that road, it's gotta come across this board, right, or something, because it's no longer a county road. If Paul goes over, takes a grader, grades that road, brushes it, or does anything to it, dump gravel on it, or anything, it's a private road now.
We're not doing any of that.
Well, this is my point. Now, the other thing is, the road out Seven Devils that goes to the old dump.
Can we back up a minute?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. The one over by Roseburg Forest, right?
Yes.
I don't quite understand it because once we vacated it, it's the responsibility of the landowners to maintain the road.
Yeah.
Not the county.
I understand that.
We wouldn't have anything to do with it.
I understand that.
Okay,
That
now,
was my question.
out on the other property.
I'm sorry, may I ask a clarification? I got a clarification also, please, Phil, because you asked the question whether if the road department does any work on that road, you were confirming that it would have to go through us in order for that to happen. And that sort of alludes to the idea that maybe that had happened.
It has happened.
Okay, so that's what I really wanted to get to. Is,
Yes, that's what I was getting. And the answer, I think this gentleman said he was from the Red Dyke Road, right?
yeah.
If it's the Red Dyke Road, it goes back towards Coos Bay to Bunker Hill area. Now, there was a big,
That's the gravel section.
that's why,
It's gravel. The section
yeah,
you're talking about.
that's what I'm gonna say, but the county couldn't work on that. They're not too long ago.
That's
Yes,
that's
that's what
what's
I'm-
called a local access road. So that is a public right of way to where you get to the end of the street and it just barely makes a turn to go up the hill.
Yes,
That is a public roadway that's under the jurisdiction of the county, but it's not a county maintained.
and that was my question, because one of the commissioners at the time when it was the rock company, I can't think of his name. Johnson Rock, they were going to try to make Johnson Rock fix the road and stuff. One of the county commissioners at that time, wanted, well, can't we just do a little bit of work there and stuff? But they didn't get the work done. And that's my problem with, making sure that Eisenhart, and Messerly, I think, lives on this road from the Cedar Point.
Well, they don't live there.
Well, they own the property. I just want to make sure that they don't get no freebies for the other people who does it. And the other one is the Seven Devils Road. We used to go to the old dump off the Seven Devils Road. The county gave that gentleman the right to put an estate type fence and gate across that road. You're allowed to walk there, but I know, and I'm not trying to tell you, but I know it. The county went in and brushed that old county road because the county still owns it, but nobody's allowed to drive down it.
When was it right?
Back before we lost all the foliage off the stuff, wasn't it, Papa? I forget the name, but it goes to the old dump out there.
I know which road you're talking about. That's still a county maintained road.
Yes, except they got a gate, the public, or nobody can go
Yeah,
through
I need
it.
to double check that.
The property owner has sold, he stopped everything except you guys and maybe the sheriff from going through it. So, I don't see why we have to brush stuff like that. If the road's no good, we shouldn't be owning, or, I think it was very wrong for a private property owner block off a county road for probably there's a half a mile road beyond that. And I'm not blaming you. It's came across the board.
Bill, that's when ORC was mining up there. Now, the gate was left there, so Paul's gonna go look to see if the gate's still necessary or not, but that's when ORC was mining up there. And the county road only goes a short distance and it becomes private property where they were mining.
Robert,
I think he's talking about a different road. He's
I
talking
brought
about
the
what,
pictures in here. I took the pictures myself and brought them in here and showed you
Now,
guys.
you're talking about old county dump?
Yes. what-
abandoned dump road off
I
Seven
was, you've talked about both of these, so I'm a
Yes.
little confused.
Well, there's a lot of conflict in this county
Okay.
about what some people can get and some can't. I don't think we should ever give a private citizen a right to block the county road, and he owns property down through there, but it doesn't go to the end of the road. So I bet just because he's got money and owns property, he shouldn't have that right to put the gate. I was sure when the lawyer brought it across the board. Anyway, I'll quit. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, Dino, he had his hand up. You're still interested. Anybody else want to weigh in?
By the way, I see you again. I'm Tino Kumaran, and with the abandoned. I do have a dog in the fight. We moved there, I'd say 35 years ago. We are contingent to abandoned dunes. I have Fay Road. I own both sides of it. In the past, the brushman always had compassion to keep my privacy. It took us 35 years to get this standing up enough that you can't see through it. Great. My wife and I have maintained that 700 feet both sides of the road. Excellent. Just about a year ago, they brought in the brusher. The brusher came in and rather than sod my Doug fir, hemlock, larger branches, they brushed it. And it looks terrible. It looks like, well, you know what it's like. Well, I wasn't too concerned about that, but I met the brusher, I forgot his name, and very, very nice, compassionate man. And I said, I want to maintain my privacy, and everything is on my property. My property. However, as you know, bushes grow, the branches do go in, but they're not a hazard. I had to disappear. I came back and he brushed that thing so far back it's naked. It's like I'm looking through a skeleton. That's one of my problems. The other, living on Fay Road, basically no one needs to be on that road except giving access to people in Weiss Estates and the three of us that live on Fay Road. There's no one there. You got 24 residential units. The road has always been somewhat disrepaired. I like it because it keeps the traffic slower. Actually, I was going to put in my own speed bumps. I'm not kidding. Well, unfortunately, we do get transient people, I'll call them Junies, they drive their newer cars so fast down that road, it is frightening. I have checked with you before. Legally, they can go 55 miles an hour. That's not good. And I did a criminal act. I put up a sign that said 30. It was a county sign, but I can't tell you all that stuff.
You already told us too much.
Well, okay, I'm guilty. Come on, where's the officer?
Is he going to be the first one we cite under the new?
Haul him off.
Yeah, hey, be careful. I know where you live. So, I had run into the Coos Curry Electric. They're taking down quite a few trees for the electric lines. My house is fed underground. I don't have a problem. But they were sawing down lots of trees. Well, I harvested some of that wood that they had brought. Nice, they cut it up in nice pieces. And I started talking to him, and I said, well, how far are you gonna go? He says, oh, we're just starting because the county wants to come in and repave that. And I went, no way, don't do that. Then we were gonna turn it into an artillery. What were they, arterial? Thank you. What's the difference? I live on a dirt road, I think. Better that, but.
Arterial is just it's a functional class name. There's different levels of functional class of roads. Arterial being the second busiest beyond the interstate freeway.
Okay.
So all the state highways in our county would be arterials.
Got it.
There are no county roads that are arterials, and they're never will be.
And
I mean, not in my lifetime.
again, access is basically just for residents. It's a very scenic route because all those 125, 30 foot.
You live on the east side or west side of 101 on Fay?
Both. Oh, no. I live on the west side, Band's Dunes entrance.
I can tell you as of right now, we don't have any plans to do the winter paving.
Thank you.
Once I haven't reviewed our report from our consultant that did the review on all the pavement condition. I know the conditions out there are poor.
Sure.
So I'm sure they're recommending that we do something in that report. However, we have a very limited budget for doing paving. So I can't say for sure right now, but it's unlikely that we'd be paving and paving.
I've called you for potholes. Those were dangerous. They've been repaired. You've done a great job out there. It's a wonderful relationship. I just want to make sure it doesn't get.
What's your address, real quick, so I can check?
57 150. Okay.
I'll check on the brush cutter.
Thank you, Dino.
You guys done with me?
Well, I think you're done with us. Anybody else want to weigh in?
I will say that's the longest 3 minutes I ever remember. And just because we're having public comment during the agenda items, I don't know that we've ever rescinded the 3-minute rule. And I love the information. It's fun to do this, but we can't always do this.
It's okay, though. You got.
I have to give him a bad
I
time.
want to hear what they have to say.
If anyone
about
else,
these
I'd be
items.
more considerate too.
But I want to hear what they have to say about these items.
That's
Anybody else want to weigh in on this before we vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Any motion for the consent calendar?
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have no late agenda items. Do we have any late agenda items?
Yes, we do.
What do we got?
I'll make a motion. We have a late agenda item requested by the sheriff's office to approve funding for a TrueNarc instrument. I would move we accept review of the late agenda item.
Second.
Okay. So we have motioned and seconded to allow late agenda items. And all in favor of allowing late?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Okay, now, Sheriff,
I have 2 more. 3 more.
you have how many? Is that all? Yeah. Apparently John has some more of these. Oh, not involving you.
I'm good. I wouldn't be prepared for this. Good morning. Thank
What you
you.
got, Sheriff?
We brought this one before. Last time we increased spending authority based on the grant from the tribe for $20,000, but unfortunately we kind of messed up the agenda item itself. Didn't write it correctly with the total price of the TrueNarc, which is $32,200, $20,000 of which is coming from the tribe. So requesting the board to approve purchase the TrueNarc instrument, increase spending authority to $32,200, and authorize myself to sign.
Good motion.
I move we approve the purchase of the TrueNarc instrument for a price not to exceed $32,200 and authorize Sheriff Fabrizio to sign.
That's it.
Second.
Discussion? Anybody? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And 2 of these late agenda items were ones you suggested, Mr. Chair. The first of the 2 is regarding, I request a late agenda item to approve sale of a tax foreclosed property.
Okay.
And I move we accept that late agenda
All
item.
right. Do we have a second?
Aye. Second.
All right, go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Lance, do you want to come up and explain this? This will be the sale of the property.
So this is a function of, we discuss a pause on land issues, like land negotiations, buy, sell, lease, etc. in executive session where the public's not allowed, but we cannot have a vote until it comes out to the public to have an actual vote to do it. We only discuss the merits of the case in executive session. So we had 2 of these this morning where the county forester was there talking about these 2 pieces of property. One's a sale and one's a purchase. So now he's bringing forth for public to view on these 2 items.
Okay, first one's approximately 160 acre parcel we tax foreclosed on in 2019, I believe.
Is it working?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, right on apparently.
Okay.
All right, the first parcel is approximately 160 acre parcel we tax foreclosed on in 2019 and turned into county forest. It's a piece of land, it lies across the bay separate from our main blocks of county forest. We've been approached to sell it by a private timber company, and we'd like to proceed with that sale.
Okay. Do I have a move?
I move we approve sale of the foreclosed 160 acres described by the county forester.
Second.
Discussion.
How long has that parcel been in our inventory?
Since 2019.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And incidentally, we got $20,000 more than the offer. Than the offer originally, thanks to this negotiating prowess.
I understand it's kind of a rough piece of property.
Yeah, it's a piece that's been neglected. The county looked at trading it back in the early 1990s. It'd been logged and it's never been replanted. It's just a brushy mess. County would never have the money to rehab that property. It cost probably $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd still be waiting 40 to 50 years to get your money back.
All right. Any discussion with the board? Any discussion with the audience? Anybody have any questions about it? Pam has this look on her face.
I'm ignorant as to how steep this is, this property.
How steep it is? I guess you can.
Can people walk on it at all?
Pam.
Pam Lewis,
Maybe
Okay.
Coquille, Oregon.
There you
go. Pretty steep. This is what it looks. This is what it should look like. This is this is the parcel right here.
Sure, but we used to have kids go out and plant things. They're like spiders. Why can't we plant it with a kid program?
Have to remove all the brush. It's very costly.
It's probably 15 to 50 feet high.
We need to make money, not sell it.
We have a replacement for it.
Okay.
Be patient.
I.
Right.
Anybody else want to weigh in about this thing? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, what else do you have?
Okay,
Well,
second
we have to
parcel.
approve another
Oh, we have to approve another late.
agenda item
All right.
regarding acquisition of forest land.
I move that we consider the late.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay, second piece is a 480 acre parcel out in Beaver Hill. It lays adjacent to or next to our property. We've been negotiating with the private timber company there. I'd like to get permission to proceed with that sale.
It's also
Purchase.
west of Colorado,
Yep, right. It's just west of Cleto. Yep.
just a mile or two or so.
This
I
is
think you can see parts of it from Highway 42.
I
If
believe
you
so,
look to the
yes.
west.
And that's the sale of other property will help pay for this one.
It's, if you're going 42 north and you go past the weigh scales and then you go over the bridge, and if you look to the right or to the west, the parts of that are what we're talking about. It's nice, good ground. And it's well within the marketing area of some of our timber companies. So it's not a long haul, which increases the profit again when they bid on the timber sale.
It's 480 acres. It's contiguous to the biggest part of our county forest. It's high site. It's replanting. It's reforested. It's not harvestable yet. And it's level ground, relatively level for forest land, and within 5 or 10 minutes of one of our mills here in the county. It's a good acquisition. And Lance initiated, he went out and sought this piece of land and wore him down.
So we don't have a motion yet.
I move approval of the purchase of this land.
I second. And I just wanted to comment that it's with my admittedly short tenure on the board so far, it's been my observation that Lance is very effective at observing where value is in land and where it's not, and working to reorient the county's land holdings in order to maintain the highest profitability. And that's what I see going here. Appreciate your concern, Pam, about liquidating properties, but clearly, like in this case, where we're doing a
Upgrading.
pretty major upgrade. I mean, it's gonna cost us more money, but in the end, my guess is, Lance, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that would be a less sunk cost than trying to rehabilitate that other ground that we just sold.
Yeah, we won't be waiting 40 years to get our money. So that's stuff 15 years old, so quicker turnaround.
So thanks for that.
Anybody else want to come in? And what also is going on is you heard my speech about we get about 6 million in property tax revenue to run county general fund departments, and the jail costs 7 million. Well, as we add on to these forest acres of our current forest, we eventually down the road, it won't be us, but for future boards, they will have a better income to deal with.
And even better, once we right the world regarding the O and C lands and the wagon road.
And the trust lands and, yeah, all that too. Yeah. Which is still in court, by the way. Anyway, anybody else want to comment on this purchase? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there any more late?
Yes, there is.
Oh,
And I apologize for this.
thank you.
So the people in the audience realize we try not to have late agenda items, but things like that.
Thanks,
So
Lance.
once in
Bye.
a while, things come up that need to be addressed prior to the next Board of Commissioners meeting. So we have this, we try to use it as seldom as possible. Unfortunately, today we have 4 such items.
I should say the last 2 forest ones, we had an offer on that piece across the bay that's pending. And then we have an offer to purchase that's pending. So we wanted to act quickly.
So the last one has to do with the homeless issue. The urgency behind it is that we need to make the request that I'll be talking about in a minute, if we wish to by Friday of this week. It has to do with a governor's executive orders, 2 of them, 2302 and 2303, which distributed money to aid with homeless issues to certain counties, mainly those that are very urban. And she excluded the ones that are rural, like ours. There is a way to appeal her decision. The appeal has to be submitted by this Friday. I'm not sure that we can meet the conditions of the appeal, but I think we need to try to do that. The order required that the counties that received the money under this order would have seen an increase of 50% in homeless populations from 2017 to 2022. And that the basis of that increase was to be from a count, they call it, was it a point in time count of homeless populations in your counties. During the COVID situation, those counts they require a lot of people. It's a very personal, people go out and talk and visit in homeless areas. So due to COVID, the counts really weren't done as well as they should have been done. Those counts do not show that we have a 50% increase. However, I have had inquiries, encouragement from several of the cities and the Coos Curry Housing Authority and Orca that we nonetheless try to convince the governor to not exclude counties other than the ones that she has already appointed for this. There may be an alternate way of getting the account. I'm waiting for that information. But I'd like the permission of the board to write a letter to appeal the governor's decision to exclude us and other rural counties from this, getting this money. So that's the purpose.
I move to hear the late agenda item.
I guess you just heard it. I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Okay.
You want to explain it again?
No, I'm sorry. I got all wound up there. Jumped ahead. So, with your approval, with your permission, I would pursue this. Need to find first a basis to substantiate that we had this major increase.
Entertain a motion to have you do this.
I move to encourage Commissioner Sweet to pursue this appeal with all the vim and vigor he has available to him.
Which ain't much.
I would second that wholeheartedly, Mr. Sweet.
I think we have someone in West Michigan who can talk.
Yeah, I just have a recommendation.
Name and
My name is Charlotte Carver. I'm from Bandon. There's absolutely a need to address homelessness in our communities. There is some other data that you might be able to support.
That would be
the claim.
helpful.
Student homelessness is tracked by school districts, and that has been consistently tracked over the years. I know that the Coos Bay School District has a high percentage of students that qualify as homeless, and that might be a data point that you could look into. It's publicly available.
Could I ask you a favor and could you gather that information and get it to me? I'm under time constraint. We've
Yes.
got budget the next 3 days and I'm trying to figure out how the name I have and I'm gonna get this
Yes, I'd be
appeal
happy
in.
to share.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Do you have his email?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Anybody else want to weigh in? Rob first.
There we go. We're still getting mixed up, Rob.
Rob.
Where did the governor get this money?
From us.
From us. And the legislature, they didn't do this. This was the governor's mandate. As far as I'm concerned, you should appeal the mandate for her not having the authority to do this kind of garbage. All we're doing is redistributing wealth from people who are just barely surviving and getting along to give to people who, most cases, have gotten what they've gotten because they've made very bad choices. And this should be something that's coming from the legislature. This is a homeless industrial complex. They're creating the problem, they direct our reaction, and then they come up with a solution. And every single time we keep dumping more and more money in it. You can look at California, there's already been studies on that. The states that have keep dumping more and more money on this, the problem gets worse. The states that have not dumped more money on it and who've actually tried to, imply different types of things, such as, first off, enforcing the law. I mean, you got homeless people around there with shopping carts with dogs in it. How much is that driving up my food costs? You know what I mean? This, North Bend, they just had a meeting yesterday, and there was absolutely nowhere in that meeting that you could have public comment as well as it should have been directed. It was a meeting where they talked to you, not listened from the audience. And I think this is a very bad idea that we keep getting on the dole and keep taking more and more money from the governor when she shouldn't have the authority to do this in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Anybody else want to weigh in? Now, over here. Yeah, you were up there.
I'm stuck.
Can you walk through instead of
more
tearing it up?
Space between those rows.
Woo! Good job.
Free at last.
I'm Carol Yardley from North Bend. At the meeting last night, what I did not understand was, or what I thought I heard, was that all of a sudden, from what our wonderful governor thinks, is that we're down on homelessness in our area.
Well, apparently, we at least don't have 50% more.
Well,
I don't know. It seems like
I got the impression it was like we are now down.
It's probably according to the point in time count, which is not an accurate data. So
Go ahead.
Well, that seems ridiculous that was even going to be put out there on the table. How, common sense says everybody's up, not down.
Yeah.
So that was a little troublesome. So, plus, I don't think there was much accomplished at that last night. from what I heard. And I totally agree with Rob. The fact that we can't have any input doesn't work, you know? So, thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Rayleigh Cousins, Coos County. Rayleigh Cousins, Rayleigh Cousins,
Okay.
Rayleigh Cousins, Coos
Hello,
County.
Rayleigh.
And I want to thank you for getting the letter together, Commissioner Sweet. I believe that is the thing to do, and I'm glad that it's being addressed in this fashion. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's see, William, is that right?
What do you need to know? What do you need to know?
No, I was asking you, I thought you were finished.
Oh, yeah.
I was
She's
asking
calling.
William to come
Oh,
on.
I'm sorry.
I think that's William, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is William. I'm from Myrtle Point. Anyway, I wasn't even gonna talk about this subject matter, but since you guys brought it up, I used to do a lot of work with the homeless, so I know a lot about them. I've been homeless enough times, so I know how it works and operates. But like Rob was saying, it is a problem when governments get involved with money trying to fix a situation they've never been able to fix. It's been going on since the dawn of time, homeless and the poor. And I've witnessed that in a town, I won't mention the town, where they wanted to put up some homeless people. And they cost them $17,000 to put up, I think it was approximately 25 people. When they asked me to help them out, I didn't want to get involved because I knew if I got involved with government, they would tell me what I could and could not do. So I didn't want to get involved with them. So they took it over and did that situation, and I could have done the same thing and put them in a motel room with all the fancy stuff instead of on a floor with blankets. But that's what they did. They had to have all the insurance and all the stuff to make sure everything was kosher. 17 grand later for 25 people over a weekend. So that's the problem when governments get involved on doing things that communities and people should do. It's always been a problem when you get the hand in there that's actually taking a lot of it off the top. Most of the money never gets to the people. I witnessed that before. I used to feed people every Sunday, up to 100 people on $90 a month. And how I did it was instead of getting involved in all the programs, I just asked people to come out and help. And then that it changed everything. A lot of people got helped for over 8 years. We were able to get people sleeping bags and all kinds of stuff when it was cold weather. But once governments get involved, once money is given by federal people and things like that, programs from the state, they begin to own it. I also watched food banks that were once free to everybody become consolidated by government money. So pretty soon, if you wanted cheap food to give to the poor, you had to go and pay it by the pallet because it was distributed and became valuable when it used to be just given away and people would come pick it up in stores. So this is what happens when things get organized like this. There's too many hands in the pot. Too many people want a job. I witnessed that many times when I got before other groups and they said, we want to help the poor. And I said, why aren't you out in the street with me? Because really, they really wanted was from a program so they could have careers and jobs. And I've seen that a lot too. There's the problem. It's always about the money instead of the people. And that's what you got coming out of Salem. The rest of my case.
Thank you.
Diane and then Eldon's after that.
And I went to the meeting, I'm Diane Rich, Tuesday. I went to the meeting last night in North Bend and I watched them ask us to help them write their program. Milgron got out his paperwork that he had copied from someone else and plagiarized and asked the body to help him write it. First of all, I don't want to write a homeless program. I want our leaders to address the problem of homelessness, not make it a program. They built a gigantic amount of homelessness, they're funding it, and now they want to fund the Army has to have a place to stay. We got to cut the money off. If we don't cut the money off to the homeless, they'll never be, hunger is a great motivator to do something. But if you keep getting all the food and you don't have to do any work, a lot of these people have taken this on as a way of life, a great lifestyle. It doesn't get that cold here.
They're given free tents. They're given free hair, shampoo and cleaning items and all those things. 3 meals a day at the Devereaux Center. Where is the motivation to change? If you don't give them motivation to change, that army is going to continue to grow. And it's going to continue to take over our homes. And we don't want them parking in our backyard. We don't want them camping in tents. We want our leaders to address this, cut off the money, and things will change. Let it go through the churches. They'll help them with food. But what really needs to happen is they need to not receive funds. So they'll be motivated to do something about their situation.
Eldon, does everybody else want us to weigh in? Yes, sir, you're after Eldon.
Eldon Rollins, Coquille. Did homeless people cause hedge funds to drive the cost of real estate through the roof in this country?
Okay. Sir? And after this gentleman, Tom, you're up.
Elmer Yardley of North Bend. I was at the town hall meeting yesterday. Town hall means you get to speak. Anybody raise their hand? No, nobody out of the crowd. And there was over 450 people there that was concerned about North Bend. I'm surprised the county's not involved here, but I agree with a lot of the people out here. They said, hey, you feed the problem, all they're gonna want is more. People are losing from here, and I can understand the homeless getting bigger because homeless are actually doing quite well. They don't spend all this time talking about it. Let's just find out what the government's going to give us. That's a lot of money going down the tubes. But like I said, you feed this problem, it's only going to get worse.
Well, thank you, Elmer. Anybody else? Well, Tom's coming up.
My thought on it was maybe start a program where you can be in a position to offer them a job, and if they're able, and if they don't take the job, then red flag them and be done with it. And from what sounds to me like we need to establish a place for them to go, so we can get them off the streets and get them wherever in a corral place somewhere. That is my thought.
Yes, ma'am. Come on
No,
up.
I already spoke. I'll be brief.
Your
So-
name and
Charlotte Carver in Bandon. I just want to say that homelessness is a really complex issue. There's a lot of reasons why people end up homeless. Homelessness is more than just the people that we see on the streets. It's more than just people who are struggling with addiction, people who are unemployed. Like I was saying, we have a lot of students that are homeless, a lot of families with young children. There's a lot of people that you may not see. When we're talking about supporting people who are homeless, we're talking about young children and families. It's not just about enabling. We should be compassionate. I think that it makes the most sense for us to go after funding when it's available. I think that we need to do whatever we can to make sure that our community is accessing the resources that could be available to our community. I know that there's a lot of debate about how to support the homeless, and I think that that's where you could get more public input, look at evidence-based strategies to address the root causes of homelessness. But what you're talking about today is just going after the funding that could be available to our communities. And I think that that is the most responsible and compassionate thing you guys can do.
good, thank you. Anybody else?
I'm Richard Kuznitsky from North Bend, and this whole discussion was about whether or not John should try and write a letter to, protest this thing that the governor is doing and not giving us money. And I think that he should, in fact, write that letter or attempt to get that letter written this week. Because, whether or not, we get the money, it's a problem that exists right now. The solutions for it are deeper than just giving them a tent or giving them a can of beans, okay? I think that the letter should be written and we should attempt to get some of the funding for our community and the people in our community. That's it.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hey, Matt Wilbanks, Coos Bay. Just a couple quick points. We've got a couple issues dovetailing together here. You've got the governor's emergency order that is providing this funding, which, to be honest, you're being bribed with your own money. Okay, that dovetails into basically the Ninth Circuit decisions, which is what North Bend's been dealing with, Coos Bay's been dealing with. These cities are trying to get camping ordinances in place, which I'm not opposed to camping ordinances. You should have a camping ordinance. You don't have one, you can't regulate camping. But the second part of those camping ordinances is a potential to have an official city homeless camp, which this money from the government will go toward. Everyone knows I'm the biggest fan of the Devereaux Center. Tara Johnson is already on record on Facebook basically saying that she hopes to or is going to be involved with whatever North Bend comes up with as far as a campground. We know what happens at the Devereaux Center on a nightly basis. Some of you may have heard the news that just happened in Roseburg. They had a warming center at their senior center, and a man stabbed, I believe, 8 people. The police had to respond, surrounded him inside the building, and they were forced to shoot him dead because he tried to attack them with a knife. Okay, I'm not opposed to warming centers either, but just like when you go to Portland, you go to the big city, and you go to a club. What happens when you go to the club? You get frisked for weapons. These warming centers have people who are either mental, drug addicted, or both. Tara will even admit to you that the majority of her clients have those issues. We can argue about what the root causes of those issues are, but the people going into these warming centers, homeless they may be, but they are mostly mental, drug addicted, or both. I'd say 80 to 90% of them. I encounter them as a neighborhood watch on the street on a daily basis. 95% of them carry weapons, which I understand. You're out on the street. I would have a knife to protect myself. But the combination you're creating is a mental or drug addicted person with a weapon going into a warming center with no security and no frisking. We have a dead person in Roseburg because of that. We had another article in Gold Beach. A lady was illegally camped at a state park in her vehicle. She was arrested and or cited for this because she broke the law. Her vehicle was impounded. Just recently, she was found dead from hypothermia. The news article that was published makes it seem like it's all our fault that she's dead because she didn't have shelter. She didn't have shelter because she broke the law and had her car impounded. And then they're arguing, oh, we need a warming center in Gold Beach. You mean another warming center that has no security is going to get people killed? So to reiterate, you're being bribed with your own money. I am not opposed to helping the homeless. I'm homeless. I lost my job 3 years ago through no fault of my own. Okay? I do not hate homeless people, but you have to address the root cause. Just like Rob and several other people said, this is a homeless industrial complex, and you have to follow the money.
Thank you. Anybody else?
The only thing that I would like to add is that I have been involved in these meetings regarding homelessness, and my message has been consistent. Let's be careful to be sure that we are trying to get to the root causes of these problems. And they're multiple. There's homeless people for various reasons. Let's be equally careful that we're not in our charity actually, there's a word, helping them enabling. Thank you, man. Yeah, we're not enabling. And it's a complex problem. The solutions are complex and they are variable. And I think there are some things that can be done that are not enabling. Now, I will say, if you have someone who has children and can't afford to feed, I'll err on the side of enabling. But for people who have made bad choices, people who have illnesses that can't be overcome easily, addictions being an example of that. I think we need to have the facilities and the programs to help them, and it's expensive. It's more than we can do ourselves. So I'm first to admit, it's a fine line. You know, where does enabling or helping and enabling start? But we need people at the table because this money's coming down to take care of a problem, and we do have a problem. And I don't know that we'll even, I don't know that we'll even be eligible for the money that the governor has already said she's not going to give us. So it's a long shot. So that's my 2 bits.
The majority of the homeless issues that we experience here in Coos County, I believe, and I'll gladly accept a correction if there's data to support otherwise, but it seems to me that the majority of this problem does not originate in the confines of Coos County. It originates outside. And there are a couple of different ways that happens. One of them is homeless people coming here by means of encouragement, facilitation, direct transport, bus tickets, or maybe it's just a natural migration because we have a more temperate climate here. And there certainly is some homelessness that originates here. I know this because I go out and talk to homeless people on the street, and I know that there are homeless people in Coos Bay who have been in Coos Bay all their lives. But I don't think that's the majority. So that having been said, and also recognizing the value of what Rob said about taking the state money, or if it were federal money, I would feel the same way. And that is that those monies always come with strings. They're always intended to exert a greater control on our local governmental structure here and our people. And are to be avoided at every opportunity. However, this is a situation where the governor has authorized this expenditure of funds to go to massive, rich urban counties to the detriment of rural counties like ours, suffering from this problem that we didn't create, they created it. So by they, I mean the mentality of Salem and Multnomah County. And that it's broader based than that, of course, but this is just sort of an example. But anyway, in this case, or in a case like this, where that money has already been allocated for expenditure, I believe it's appropriate for us to reach out and try to get some of it to help us and place those policies that we need to have. As Matt said, a public camping ordinance is needed. We're required by House Bill 3115 to develop this by July, and this is the main impetus of the meeting that I was in yesterday. I'm supposed to be in right now, but this meeting's gone long, so I'm not there. But we are working on this issue at the county level, and we're bandying some creative ideas to try to address this in a way that retains accountability on the part of the person who's actually receiving the benefit that's rendered by these actions that we're working on. So it's not about a handout. I'm opposed to the handout. It's never productive. But a hand up for somebody who's really looking for that hand up is extremely productive. And it's in the interest of our broader society and culture to reach out in compassion to those who are in this situation through no or little fault of their own and seeking to get out of it. We need to help them. And we also do need to correctly recognize the delineation between the ones who want out and the ones who just want the free stuff. Those people need to go, and I don't want anything to do with helping them. So those are my comments.
Okay. Well, I guess for me, I lay a lot of this problem at the feet of our legislature.
Yep.
When you liberalize all of the drug laws, where personal possession of almost anything is no longer arrestable, really. I mean, it's a $100 thing, nobody pays attention to it. What you've done is you've rang the bell to come here from everywhere else, west of the Rockies at least, if not the Midwest, because you can do what you want and you won't get arrested.
That's right.
And so the legislature in the past, especially the 21 legislature, created these issues, which the legislature is controlled mostly by those large urban areas in the state, and we all know where those are. All right. Anybody else want to weigh in? William again?
Yeah.
Come on up. William, oh, come on. Because we can't hear you on the mic. And the reason we ask your name and generally where you live is for tracking on the recording.
I appreciate that. My name is William Hayes. I'm from Myrtle Point. Back to the same subject a little bit. You're wondering when we get to the root of the problem. Well, I'll tell you one of the root of the problems is one of the very things that is being set against in this committee here, in this council. And that is that people are empty of hope. They're empty of a place to find it. Let me tell you something. The other day I was in a bar having a cup of coffee. A young man came and sat down by me. And forgive me for a moment. But anyway, he told me how his mom had just passed away. Somehow his dad gave his mom a bunch of pills, and she ended up dying about a month ago. And Dad took his brother to California, and in the meantime, he was stranded with a car. Mom and him are both drug addicts. Mom was a nurse, so apparently he thought it was normal to be a drug addict because Mom was a nurse. So he grew up with drugs all his life. So here he is in a bar, breaking down in front of me because he lost everything, including his car, because he got stopped somewhere along the line and the cops confiscated his car. I don't remember exactly why. But this is the reason why this guy's homeless. But it's mostly because he was misled by a lot of this, what the world has to offer. And then the other day when I was in here, you say that I can't pray in a certain name. Well, that name has made more hope for more people and changed more lives than any name I've ever heard of in the history of the world. And you all know who I'm talking about. That is the very reason why the people in the streets are where they're at. Because we stripped that from them in the schools. We stripped that from them in our government. And even in public places like here. This is why they're like that out there, because they don't get to hear it. They don't get to know about it. It's not on their minds. It's not spoken in public. They're supposed to be embarrassed about it. To speak the name of Jesus in public. Let me tell you another story, real quick. This story comes directly out of the Bible. John and Peter one day were heading up to a temple. There was a man who was crippled. And in Jesus' name, they healed him. Well, they were sent before a trial because they didn't like him preaching in that name. Then they were beaten with rods and told not to ever do it again. They walked away rejoicing, thinking it was a great thing to be beaten for the cause of Christ, and they continued to preach it in his name in public places, even though they're told by authorities not to. This is the state of the church, who they are. They always want to talk about it. They always want to pray in his name because then they get an amen from those who understand and believe the same way. Or two come in agreement. If you try to take that from the people, which you're trying to, you already set yourself up. And you're setting our communities up, and that's why you see what you see out there. I know because I worked out there. I've seen the people come to me later and say, thank you for giving me that hand up, and their lives were changed. I've seen those that were derelict, those who just want to be violent, and those who just like to get the freebies and do their drugs. But the bottom line in all that is, there's an empty place on the inside of them. There's no hope. They don't know what mercy is. They don't know what love is. They don't know what compassion is. They don't know how to be free because they've never been free. And they have no direction to turn to, and then you want to shut it out of these places? Well, the only reason why I'm talking this way is to let you guys know that that is the main reason why people are in the desperate state in this nation, and why we have so many people in the street on drugs, involved in all kinds of things that are destructive, because they don't know of another way. And the church has gotten kind of cowardly in themselves, waiting for the rapture, sitting behind closed doors. Now we want to bring it to the public, and you want to stop us. You're kicking against a goad. I'm saying to you right now. That's what Jesus told Paul when he was Saul, when he was persecuting the church. You kick against God, it's going to cause trouble. You should have just left it alone in the first place, and then people could have came in here and would have probably just asked prayer once in a while. But now you're trying to stop it.
Thank you.
So I just want to let you know. That is the problem.
Thank you, Will. The problem is, though, that that's not the only church in this room. As you all know, that's not the only church in this county. That's not the only church in this United States. We have a mixture of everything in the world here. To have one have a position in this room who would be detrimental to other folks who believe differently. And that's why we did that. Ma'am, you want to talk about homeless again?
I want to make a comment. This subject that is on the table right now for discussion is not prayer. The subject on the table for discussion is whether we're going to approve our seeking an exemption to the governor's decree that certain communities get this funding and we do not. So if someone wants to talk about that, I'm here to stay. If someone's talking about something else, I'm leaving.
Okay, come on up.
But I do want to thank you again for getting the letter. I think that's a good idea, and I think the facts will show that a lot of the homeless are homeward bound. So there's many things that are issues, but please do the letter. Thank you.
I think we have explored this thoroughly. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And with that, we have commissioner comments. Any comments about the last couple of weeks?
No, I won't go over the last couple of weeks. I'll be very prompt. I've been talking about issues pertaining to the overall state of the county and our finances and one thing and another. I just want to recap what we've gone over in the last couple of weeks. Number one, our county's operating tax levy is the second lowest in the state. Not lowest by a little bit, but almost 2/3 lower than the average county in the state. Our taxes today, those assessed by the county or levied by the county, are 80% of what they were 10 years ago. We've actually reduced the tax burden for running this county. Now, this does not deal with the schools and the cities and all of that, everything else. Our employment today in the county is around 350. There wasn't too many years ago, it was closer to 550. Roads alone, not too many years ago, 59. Before that, over 100, I'm told. I think we have 28 people, somewhere in that range today. Solid waste, 10 years ago, we had 29 people running the solid waste facility. Today, we have 4. Survey, you heard them today. 7 people a few years back, 3 people today. We're doing a really good job, in my view, of running this county as efficiently as we possibly can. Perhaps too efficiently, because there are some things that we need to be doing that we are not.
And one of those being having a jail so that there are consequences for misbehavior in this county. And then I'm done.
So we've had a lot of conversation around the homeless issue here this morning, and I appreciate that. It's a serious problem that we all need to address, and it's been a topic of some focus in recent weeks and days, particularly. But I wanted to elucidate one aspect of the problem that I haven't heard many other people talk about, and that's this. Our county budget is run more or less 70% on outside money from the federal government or the state government. A lot of the state monies are actually federal monies where the states pass through. And as we've mentioned earlier today, those funds always come with strings attached that require certain things of us that may or may not be consistent with the values, purposes, and priorities of the people of Coos County. But that 70%, basically around, give or take, I mean, rough numbers here, but somewhere around $85 million a year coming into Coos County in order to help us run our county. $85 million, 70% of our county budget is federal and state money. Now, obviously, a lot of that money originates here in the form of income taxes. So I've mentioned, I'm glad it's funny. I've already mentioned exactly more or less what the number is that's coming back to our county budget. Anybody care to proffer a guess how much money the residents of Coos County paid in federal income tax in 2020? $223 million. Okay, so 223 out, 85 back. Now, if that doesn't get your attention, then I don't know what will, because that is a desperate situation. Imagine the prosperity that we would realize here, the ability that we would realize to deal with expensive problems like homelessness and deal with those in a proactive way that is defined and purposed for the benefit of the broadest swath of Coos County people and meets with the broadest swath of approval to deal with these kinds of problems. If we didn't have that tremendous, grotesque disparity, $223 million we send out, and I would challenge anyone to show me the over $180 million of additional benefit that we get from the federal government here in the county, besides those county operating funds. This does not account for entitlements, food stamps, none of that goes into it. This is strictly general fund type funds from the federal government. That's our problem. We are spending in this county 70% of our budget is stacked on top of over $1 trillion of national debt or deficit spending every single year, and that's stacked on top of over $31 trillion of national debt, and that does not count $250 trillion of unfunded mandates. That's our problem, people. That's our problem. It's bloated, expansive, ever-growing, ever-encroaching, ever-sucking up more of our lifeblood, monstrous government. That's what our problem is. And that's why local control is what we need to reestablish. So that's my diatribe.
So for verification, is that property tax?
No, those are income taxes. Property tax is paid to the county. And that's about $6 million a year that the county receives in property taxes, which, by the way, I support the concept of property taxes. We should support our local government, and that's the mechanism by which we do it, or one of them.
And roughly 10% of your property tax bill is the county portion.
Right.
Everything else goes to all the other cities, airport, 4-H, library, all that kind of stuff.
That's right.
So with that, tomorrow starting at 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock, right here, we're gonna be in budget. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, until we balance the budget. And then we turn it over to the full budget committee, which are the county commissioners plus 3 lay people from the community. And we go through the budget all over again and budget and make cuts and additions and all that kind of stuff. So see you here tomorrow. And with that,
No,
9 to
Rob.
4.
9 for everyone else.
9 to 4. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you all.